Good afternoon, everyone. I'm T3 Live Editor-in-Chief John Darsie here to bring you the daily recap. We actually have a little bit of a surprise for you guys this afternoon. We have Mike Lee is going to be joining me for the daily recap. There he is. Mike, welcome to the recap.
Thank you very much, Darcy.
So we're gonna go through, talk some charts, provide you a little bit of a different perspective from another voice from T3 Live, and then Mike's also going to talk a little bit about what goes on in his Trade the Morning mentoring room, which is one of the mentoring rooms at T3 Live. So going to the market. Stocks finished slightly higher today, closed off their highs a little bit, but it was sort of a quiet session like you probably would have expected given the holidays we have going on, given the fact we have options expiration and all that type of stuff. Overall, a lot of traders I feel like this week, Mike, have been taking it very slow, and even the last couple weeks, given the choppy, volatile action that we've seen, given the fact that you're more of a short-term trader and you focus usually on trading the open, have you been taking a similar type approach as a lot of traders have in terms of sitting on your hands, taking things a little bit easier?
Yes and no. This week happened to be a pretty tough week for me, trading-wise, just because the volatility was something that was so extreme for me. Had good stretches last week, but this week, for some reason, the trade, I didn't see it. We've had major reversals. The ranges are so extreme that, as a trader, you really have to adjust, one, your size, and two, your timing. These stocks are so whippy, and the market is influencing every trade. So if the cues come in real quick, your stock comes in. I'm a big-time relative strength, relative weak trader, and I didn't really see that much this week early. This was also a short week, and it was also a week that, it's a holiday week. It was a very thin trade, in my opinion.
Yeah, and in terms of the indices, there's been a lot of talk about how the S&Ps continue to hold up really well, how the NASDAQ has been really weak under the surface. You've had various sectors that are weak under the surface. What do you use as a momentum trader, as a trade the morning trader, to identify relative strength, relative weakness in the market? What's sort of your barometer when you talk about indices?
Yeah, let's take a look at the cues, for example, on the chart. Here's the daily look on the cues. And I've been watching the cues because that's what's been in play. We've been getting 50-point moves, 2% rallies, just extreme volatility. And I'm just going to draw that line. That's really your base right now, 83 and change. That's your support. It tried to tail through, and it just went up about 3+% in the last 3 trading days. But one thing I'm noticing on the cues, and here's your high, and here's a lower high, and a lower high, and another lower high pivot. And to me, I'm going to show you a lot of charts. I'm seeing a lot of resistance coming into play early next week. I'm not saying it's going to be a fade. I'm not going to tell you it's a short right now because I literally trade what's in front of me. I let the stock tell me what to do. But as I look at patterns here, I'm seeing a lot of resistance forming potentially in the cues. 86.50 today's high, 87 area for potential pivots, and it could be another volatile week next week, and you got to be prepared. And how you prepare yourself, I'm telling you, you got to keep your emotions tight, your size tight, and your charts tight. Don't have 20 stocks on the radar. Have 5. Have a tight basket because they're really doing the same thing.
Well, I know that a lot of these data security cloud stocks have been ones that I've noticed that you and Steve LeVay, who's the other mentor in the Trade the Morning mentoring room, have been trading very frequently recently, and they've been on a lot of traders' radars because of how much they've been beaten down, because of the volatility that we've seen there. And I know before the show we started talking about a few of those stocks that you've been paying most close attention to, names like FEYE, FEYE, or PANW, Palo Alto Networks. Just give us a look at what you're seeing in those names and the way you've been handling those.
Yeah, let me show you. Let's start with FireEye. FireEye is giving me a tell right here. Here's FireEye this week. We know the cues have bounced very nicely, 2, 3, 4% even from lows. FireEye to me is building a nice bear flag. You have 2 possible trades. Above 50.90, I do like it long. So above this here, right here, you could get a trade back to this area. Gives you a nice $5 move. This happens to be about a $5 channel, 45 to 50. Break above that takes me to about 55. If it doesn't break and the market gets weak, this is an unbelievable candidate to go much lower. If you look at the daily on it, this is extreme selling. I've tried it a few times. I'm not getting hurt in it because it's not going anywhere this week, but the tails are just way extreme. So to me, FEYE is a short if the market tends to come in the next week. Let's look at PANW, another one that's been smoked, but this one relatively is a little stronger. But one thing I am noticing, stocks have rallied into resistance now. And what I'm going to look for possibly Monday, Tuesday, if the Qs tend to gap up or fade in, where are my stocks? PANW could be a nice short into this resistance. Here's your bear flag wedge right here. That's where it cracked, and it's right back into that resistance. So I'm going to show you other charts, but the theme of this is nice rally this week, and stocks are coming into major resistance. So
you're more in the mind of you're looking to short some bounces here rather than looking to add on strength, and that's sort of been the theme that we've been seeing.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it unless the stock tells me, but I'm definitely on high alert for a potential fade in the markets next week, depending on news, depending on gap up, gap downs. The scenario is, my best friend. When I trade the morning, the morning room is really focusing on the trade from 9:30 to 11:30. I make a very high percentage of my good profitable trades early in the day because of good flow, because of the volatility. The range in the mornings are generally a lot more. I'm having 5-minute high and lows, 2-day breakouts, 2-day breakdowns, and that's what I'm focusing on early in the day. Let me just show you a couple other charts, and I want to show you this VRNS, if you don't mind, Darsie. And I want to show you what potentially I'm looking for in a reversal. VRNS is a recent IPO, and it's been getting hit. Don't get me wrong. This thing has not really shown any strength. But the last few days, the market's rallied. And one thing I did notice, 25.50 held. This is 1, 2, 3. And here's your low, higher low, and it finally gave me a little trade today. I'm not looking for much. This is a thinner stock. It might be, a little more difficult for a lot of people. But here is your little wedge. It breaks above 27. I take my trade and take a little money out of it. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for very low risk, high reward setups to, make myself a consistent trader. I happen to lose this week. I got hurt in, some high beta stocks that I have not seen such extreme moves. But when I get hurt, I keep myself in the game. I'm a tick away from making it back. When I'm not trading well, I'm breaking even. And that's the key to a good trader. It happens to be my birthday today. I'm 39. I started this business exactly 14 years ago, April 2000. And I can tell you why I'm teaching you and talking to you now is because of my rules and my consistent money management. That's what keeps me in the game. Technically I'm good, but technicals fail. And why do people get hurt when technicals fail and charts fail is because they're not disciplined with their risk.
And you briefly touched on your 5-minute high-low trade, and you touched on the idea of not blindly shorting things into bounces and things like that. In the Trade the Morning room, you guys definitely focus on more intraday type setups and signals to get involved in a trade idea. How about you talk a little bit more about that 5-minute high-low trade, which is just one of several strategies that you and Steve teach in your Trade the Morning course?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about IBB. Now, the biotech industry, I'll go over a little of these stocks, has been in play big time. I mean, we've talked about the biotechs getting smoked and, this and that. But to go over a 5-minute high and low trade gives me an opening range, and it also gives me a price to make a calculated risk trade. Look at IBB this morning, okay? Here's your opening bar. Here's your 5-minute bar. It's 222.48 to 221.34. How would I approach this trade? I'm looking for a break of the low or break of the high. Now, if it breaks the low and it doesn't work, that's okay. My out is where I entered. One thing that you have to look for, if for some reason the low doesn't work, look at this, guys. Here's your 5-minute high bar right here. After it broke the 5-minute high on the chart, I'll draw an X right here, okay? Look at that nice move. I don't even need to be here after 10:30. That's my trade. I don't care what happens here. I'm going to draw an X. I don't care what happens the rest of the day. What I care about is executing a position that I trust with a defined stop and an educated target. And you know what? IBB, I know a couple guys who did very well in this today. There's your trade, and you take it off. The 5-minute high and low works very good during earnings season, which we are in now. You have to understand your risk, and you also have to understand your size because it can get very whippy. And this one, the low didn't work, but that's okay. I had my stop, and once the high went out, it was a really nice trade.
So let's jump into social media a little bit. You mentioned, and I've noticed on the virtual trading floor, that you've been trading names like Facebook and Steve, and you have been putting that in your Trade the Morning watch list that you produce every morning for the room. Take a look at Facebook, and if you want to jump into Twitter and LinkedIn, be my guest as well.
Okay. All right, let's look at the daily first. I love looking at dailies, and I drew this line here literally a second ago. Look at Facebook, guys, on the daily. It's had its run, it had its run, it's had its weakness, but I'm seeing here's a high, here's a lower high pivot, and what Facebook is forming all week, to me, is a bearish wedge. You've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days where it really hasn't broken on the upside. It can't stay above 60. It's consolidating. If I zoom in here, this is going to give me a trade next week. I would absolutely look, if a hold above 60 on Facebook and a break below 58. I mean, it is tight. It is really tight. Anywhere in this area, to me, is a gray area. It could go either way. Why not wait? Wait for consolidation and wait for something that makes you a believer in your position. You have to trust your trade, but you also have to believe in it. Let's look at LinkedIn for a second. LinkedIn is a lot more on the terms of range and beta. A lot of people don't like LinkedIn. It's not the best trader, but once again, LinkedIn is coming into resistance. That's the theme here. Had a little better week. It's rallied, $12, $13, but it is coming into resistance. I go back to Twitter. Now, Twitter, a couple days ago when the market was, hitting lows, I want to show you a chart on Twitter, and Twitter was a very defined bounce the other day. It was showing me something right here. Let me get right here, okay? This was when the market ripped. Qs were making new lows. And right in this area, Twitter was relatively strong this day. It really couldn't go down. It was showing strength. And once you saw this thing break out of this channel, that's an explosion. I mean, Twitter was definitely the strongest stock that day. Why did it reverse that much? I don't know. I can't tell you where a stock's going to go from 41 to 45, but I can tell you the relative strength in this time frame in Twitter was very good, and you had a nice move. Also, Twitter, if you go back on the daily, it was really just hovering near the IPO low. So you probably had some short covering or people just taking shots, risking, what are you risking? 2%, 4%, 5% from here. It's a good risk reward. But once again, look what Twitter's doing. Here's your high, lower high, lower high, lower high. It's coming into resistance again. I keep seeing up moves coming into resistance and, heading lower. Let me just go over IBB real quick, Darsie.
All right.
IBB is the leader in the market, to me, for the Qs. I think IBB is the tell right now, at least it was the last couple weeks. Once again, look at these highs, lower high, lower high. It's a theme right now. So I'm not telling you to, oh my God, Monday, Tuesday, I'm shorting the first rally. What I'm telling you is just be aware of resistance, and resistance is my friend. If a stock breaks above resistance, it becomes support. I get long. But in the meantime, I'm seeing a lot of stocks bounce into, pretty good resistance after today.
Well, great, Mike. That was a good glimpse into your approach and sort of what you're seeing right now. And I wanted to remind everyone, and I'll let you say a few words about it too, is that next Saturday, so a week from this Saturday, April 26th, in Boca Raton, which is where Mike lives now and is based out of, Mike is going to be hosting a an educational seminar for people that are interested in learning more about Trade the Morning and learning more about technical analysis in general. Mike, do you want to say a few words about what that educational event is going to look like?
Yeah, I'm doing a free seminar in Boca next Saturday. I'm looking forward to it. I love talking about what I do. It always reminds me of, why I'm successful, and I really want to help traders. Traders who want to learn and want to make money are the ones that are going to be successful. Everyone wants to make money, but you have to learn. You have to learn your skill. You have to come up with rules, and it's something that I love talking about. I'm spending a few hours here in the office next Saturday. If you're around in Boca, please come out. I'm excited to talk about the Momentum Room and why it works for me and why it works for some traders in our room.
All right, great. So if anybody's down in the South Florida area, April 26th on Saturday, there's also a banner on the T3 Live website if you want to find out more information about that event. But I think it's going to be a great opportunity to learn more about Mike, to learn more about trading, to learn more about, in particular, the Trade the Morning strategy and mentoring room, which allows you, and I know you have a lot of people on the West Coast in your room and internationally that like to, just trade for a couple hours a day, either make their money, lose their money, and then go about the rest of their day and live their normal life, I guess you could say. All right. See everybody on Monday.